Your breath freezes before it leaves your mouth. The sun is already sinking, and the temperature is about to drop another 20 degrees. No walls, no blanket, no fire, yet. Something large just moved through the tree line, and it wasn't human. You have maybe 2 hours of daylight left to solve 3 problems at once. Get warm, find food, and stay alive until morning. No phone, no store, no rescue team waiting on the other end of a call. This wasn't a myth, and it wasn't a single unlucky night. This was ordinary life, for tens of thousands of years, for people exactly like you. So how did anyone survive this? Here's the first thing most people get wrong. There wasn't just one ice age. During the Pleistocene, a period stretching back nearly 2.5 million years, Earth cycled through repeated glacial and warmer periods. Ice sheets crept over parts of North America, Europe, and Asia, while other regions stayed green, dry, or even warm. Survival in Siberia looked nothing like survival in southern Africa. The humans who lived through this weren't facing one fixed nightmare. They were facing a moving target, and that meant they had to keep adapting, generation after generation, in dozens of different ways. Back to that freezing night. The first problem was never really the cold itself. It was that cold kills fast without a plan. Fire changed everything. Evidence of controlled fire use stretches back hundreds of thousands of years, and in the coldest regions, fire wasn't a luxury. It was the line between life and death. But fire alone wasn't enough. Shelter blocked the wind that stole body heat faster than the cold air alone. Clothing trapped warmth against the skin. And here's the part people miss. None of these were separate inventions. They worked together, as a system. Remove one piece, and the whole system could fail in a single night. But staying warm was only the first problem. A fire doesn't fill your stomach. Food had to be hunted, tracked, scavenged, or gathered, and it was rarely guaranteed. In colder regions, humans relied heavily on large game, mammoths, bison, reindeer, following migrating herds across enormous distances. In warmer or coastal regions, gathering plants, roots, shellfish, and small game filled the gaps. Hunting large Ice Age animals wasn't a solo act of bravery. It required tracking skill, timing, and often several people working together because a single mistake could mean serious injury or death. Food wasn't a guarantee. It was a daily negotiation with a landscape that owed you nothing. As night deepened, shelter became the next battle. Sometimes nature provided it. Caves and rock overhangs offered protection from wind and predators alike. But in open, treeless environments, humans built their own shelters from whatever the land offered. At sites in what is now Ukraine and Russia, archaeologists have found dwellings constructed from mammoth bones, likely covered with hides and packed with earth for insulation. This wasn't primitive guesswork. It was engineering, using the only materials available to build something that could hold in heat and hold out death. Shelter kept people alive at camp, but movement demanded its own protection. Bone needles found at sites tens of thousands of years old suggest humans were sewing fitted clothing, not simply draping loose hides over their shoulders. Fitted clothing traps warm air against the body far more effectively than loose covering, and that difference could mean surviving a long trek across open ice or not. We don't know the exact styles or colors people wore. That kind of evidence rarely survives. But the tools tell us the intent. Precise, practical, tailored survival gear made from what the environment provided. And here's the real danger nobody plans for. Even with fire, shelter, and clothing, no single person could do all of this alone. Every day, forever. Groups shared meat after a hunt, even when the hunter could have kept it for himself. They cared for the injured and the old, some of whom show skeletal evidence of surviving injuries that would have made independent survival impossible. Knowledge, where the herds moved, which plants were poison, how to read a coming storm, passed from older generations to younger ones through story and demonstration. Survival wasn't a lone figure against nature. It was a network of people, each one a weak point the group refused to abandon. But systems break. Climate within the Pleistocene didn't just stay cold. It fluctuated, sometimes sharply, over centuries or even faster. Herds shifted their migration routes without warning. Familiar food sources vanished from regions where they'd been reliable for generations. When that happened, the answer usually wasn't to stay and hope. It was to move, sometimes following animals into new territory, sometimes abandoning a homeland altogether. Migration wasn't a single dramatic journey out of one place. For many groups, it was a repeated, generational response to a world that refused to stay the same. Some groups adapted in time. Others, in certain regions, did not. So what actually got humans through this? It wasn't raw physical strength. Plenty of animals were stronger, faster, better insulated by nature. It wasn't luck alone, though luck certainly mattered. The real answer is less cinematic and far more powerful. Intelligence applied consistently. Cooperation that made individual weakness survivable. Technology built from whatever materials were available, and the willingness to change strategy the moment the old one stopped working. Every fire, every stitched hide, every shared meal, every migration was a small act of problem-solving, repeated by millions of people across thousands of generations. That accumulation, not a single hero moment, is what carried humanity through the Ice Age. So how did ancient humans survive the Ice Age? Not by conquering the cold, by outthinking it, together, one small solution at a time, for longer than any civilization since has existed.